The room smelled of antiseptic and fear, the kind that clings to the skin and refuses to let go. Blood pooled slowly on the cold steel table, each drop marking time like a cruel clock, and the German shepherd lay motionless, his chest barely rising, his eyes half closed as if he had already given up on the world. Nurses froze, machines beeped in uneven rhythms, and in that suffocating moment, everyone felt it at once, the terrifying belief that it was already too late. Panic spread faster than any diagnosis, and one scream cut through the chaos, raw and desperate, carrying the weight of finality that no one wanted to accept. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet miracles that happen when people refuse to give up, take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this remind us that even in the darkest moments, light can still find a way in. The dog's name was Rex, though most people in the small military town knew him only as the silent shadow that once walked beside a Navy SEAL through war zones half a world away. Rex had been a working dog, trained for precision and loyalty, his instincts sharp enough to save lives, his heart brave enough to walk into danger without hesitation. But that life was supposed to be over. After one final mission went wrong, Rex was retired, sent back home with scars both visible and hidden, just like his handler. They were meant to heal together. Instead, fate had other plans. A hit-and-run accident on a rain-soaked road left Rex broken and bleeding, rushed into a small emergency clinic that was already understaffed and overwhelmed. The veterinarian on duty had seen trauma before, but this was different. The dog's injuries were severe, his breathing shallow, his pulse weak and erratic. Every protocol had been followed, every standard procedure attempted, yet nothing seemed to pull him back from the edge. The room filled with tension as medical staff exchanged helpless glances, their training colliding with the brutal limits of reality. In moments like these, experience often tells you when to stop, when further effort becomes cruelty rather than care. The scream that echoed through the room came from that place of professional despair, the belief that continuing would only prolong the inevitable. But standing at the table was a man who had learned, in the harshest environments imaginable, that giving up too early could cost lives. The Navy SEAL who had once trusted Rex with his own survival did not see a lost cause on that table. He saw a partner. He saw the dog that had alerted him to hidden explosives, the dog that had dragged a wounded soldier to safety under gunfire, the dog that had stayed awake through nights of terror just to rest his head against his handler's boot. Training manuals and medical charts faded into the background as instinct took over. The technique he used was not found in veterinary textbooks. It came from battlefield medicine, from moments where there was no doctor, no equipment, only seconds and determination. He adjusted Rex's position, applied pressure in a precise, controlled way, and began a rhythmic pattern that looked strange to everyone else in the room. It was part resuscitation, part stimulation, part sheer refusal to accept defeat. Every movement was deliberate, driven by memory and muscle rather than instruction. The room fell silent, the scream replaced by stunned disbelief as people watched something they had never seen before. Seconds stretched into an eternity. The machines continued their uneven song, but then, almost imperceptibly, something changed. Rex's chest rose a little higher. His pulse, once barely there, began to steady. A flicker of life passed through his body, subtle but undeniable. Hope, fragile and trembling, crept back into the room. The veterinarian leaned in, rechecking vitals with shaking hands, afraid to trust what she was seeing. Against all expectations, the dog was responding. What followed was not a sudden miracle but a slow, exhausting climb back from the brink. Rex spent days in critical condition, his body fighting infection, pain, and trauma with the same stubborn resilience that had defined his working life. The SEAL rarely left his side, sleeping in a chair, speaking softly even though the dog was unconscious, believing on some deep level that Rex could still hear him. Nurses watched the bond between them with quiet awe, reminded that healing is not always just about medicine, but about connection. As the days passed, Rex began to open his eyes. His tail twitched for the first time when his handler entered the room. Small victories piled up, improved breathing, stabilized blood pressure, the ability to eat on his own. Each sign of progress felt like a gift hard-earned through faith and persistence. The veterinarian who had once screamed in despair now spoke of the case with humility, acknowledging that sometimes survival depends on stepping beyond what is expected and trusting the human instinct to fight for those we love. When Rex finally stood on his own legs again, shaky but determined, the entire clinic seemed to breathe easier. Staff members who had doubted, who had feared the worst, now shared smiles and quiet tears. The story spread through the town, not as a tale of defiance against medical science, but as a reminder that compassion and courage can coexist with expertise. The Navy SEAL never claimed to be a hero. He simply said that in his world, you never leave a teammate behind, no matter how hopeless it looks. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that love can show up in the most unexpected ways and change the outcome of a life, please take a moment now to like the video, share it with others, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps keep these stories alive and reaching the people who need them most. Before the ending, we have one special request for you. Please comment below and tell us where you're watching from, or share a story of an animal or person who inspired you by refusing to give up. Rex eventually returned home, not to a life of missions and danger, but to quiet mornings, gentle walks, and the steady presence of the men who had saved him twice. Their scars remained, but so did their bond, deeper than ever. In a world often quick to declare things broken beyond repair, their story stands as proof that sometimes, all it takes is one person willing to try something no one expects, and a heart strong enough to believe that life is still worth fighting for.